Make sure you guys smash that subscribe button if you guys are fans of the content being posted onto this channel to always be in the loop with more content similar to this, and be sure to hit the video up with a like if you're enjoying the content. And with that being said, let's begin. So with Godzilla vs. Kong now officially in the history books, there are so many fans within the MonsterVerse fandom that are seemingly begging the question as to what exactly Legendary is going to do next involving the MonsterVerse following the events of Godzilla vs. Kong. So in the beginning of Godzilla vs. Kong, there was something listed that seemingly went on to anger a lot of fans, and that was the notion that all of the other kaiju that we saw in Godzilla King of the Monsters have been, quote, listed as being defeated. Now, why is this important? Well, the Skull Crawlers and King Ghidorah were also listed as being defeated, which ultimately implies that Rodan, Methuselah, the Remnants, and whatever remains of Mothra, Leviathan, Behemoth, all of these kaiju and many more have suffered the same fate as King Ghidorah and the Skull Crawler that Kong had defeated in Kong Skull Island. So what does this mean going forward? Now, I do believe that they could essentially set up more MonsterVerse movies in the future, perhaps maybe have Godzilla somehow return, because the rights for Godzilla are going back to Toho, and as of right now, we do understand that Toho is looking to create a new Godzilla universe by incorporating their own vision and what they want to do, so we can only hope that Warner Brothers and Legendary can acquire the licensing for Godzilla again for future movies, along with new additional monsters from Toho. Specifically, a lot of people want to see Destoroyah be introduced only because we have the setup from Godzilla King of the Monsters where the Oxygen Destroyer was used against Ghidorah and Godzilla, so this could cause somewhat of a mutation with one of the crustaceans in manifesting itself into a giant monstrosity in which they can label as Destoroyah. So there are so many possibilities, specifically now with Kong having to now reside in the Hollow Earth. We still don't know that much of what lies within the Hollow Earth, and hopefully enough they get to kind of explain and dive more in depth with the monsters that lie down there, only because it's kind of hard to believe that there were only 2 gigantic warbats down there that Kong had defeated effortlessly, along with the chicken-like Hellhawks that we saw that really posed no threat to Kong to begin with. So we can only hope to see somewhat of a different encounter down there. Hopefully enough, if they do follow through by creating another Kong movie, by now labeling him as King Kong, we can actually get more from the Hollow Earth, in which could ultimately possibly even set up another Kong movie that could possibly even make a crossover with Godzilla in the future. But in terms of Godzilla itself, the premise of the movie itself involving Godzilla and Kong has already been established. Godzilla had resurfaced only because he wanted to discover and find out what was causing the disturbance, in which he was picking up these echolocations that were very similar to Ghidorah's cry. Of course, we saw that with MechaGodzilla, but now we don't really have a story for Godzilla, especially if Godzilla vs. Kong sets up the idea that the other kaiju that I just mentioned earlier, such as Rodan, Mothra, Leviathan, Behemoth, they're going to have to come up with something very, very specific in kind of illustrating the point that these kaiju were never destroyed, but simply having to either slumber away or do their own thing. But if they were to include the idea that Godzilla had tore them all apart, then the only other direction you can go in is to introduce other monsters that Godzilla has never even seen before or has no knowledge of. So the Godzilla vs. Kong writer actually went on to discuss the possibility of sequels and spin-offs after Godzilla vs. Kong, and it's a very interesting take, as one of the screenwriters went on to comment, hopefully there will be, and I have no idea. If not the peak, then the plateau that everyone has been aiming for. This is a point that has been a part of the ambition since the beginning, so I look forward to whatever the next iteration of this franchise is. This has certainly been getting these 2 characters, like the Avengers, you build to that place. That's not to say that there aren't future movies that bring everyone together. Now, director Adam Wingard actually went on to recently confirm that yes, there was a post-credit scene for Godzilla vs. Kong, but there was a lot of uncertainty considering the box office risk, which a lot of people were surprised to see that this movie did very, very well in the box office considering the current climate that we're living in. So the movie is a success. However, it's just very unfortunate that we didn't get any post-credit scene, only because it was shot, but it was not included in this movie. So one can only assume as to what this post-credit scene could have been. It could have been the re-emergence or the resurfacing of a new monster perhaps, or something along the lines of an encounter involving Monarch and Apex and something along those lines. So we don't really know right now what that was, but there was supposed to be a post-credit scene, but that was not included in the film. And what's even more interesting is seeing how everyone together on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook is getting together in hashtagging continue the MonsterVerse, only because people now know that there could be so much more following the events of Godzilla vs. Kong. You can ultimately do the inclusion of Destoroyah, you can ultimately do the inclusion of Space Godzilla, you can ultimately do somewhat of a crossover reference by including yet another mechanized monster, such as maybe perhaps Mecha King Ghidorah, or maybe even having the humans create another mechanized monster, perhaps maybe a Mecha Kong, or perhaps maybe another all-new, brand-new, never-before-seen Mecha Kaiju. The possibilities for this are seemingly endless, and they can go in one of many directions, but I feel as though before getting into the next Godzilla movie, they have to primarily focus on Kong just to see how he operates and what he does while he's in the Hollow Earth, because in Godzilla vs. Kong, what we didn't get to see was more of a kind of exploration from Kong in seeing other monsters. I mean, if you stop and think about it, Kong he just physically can't be the only massive alpha level titan down there, because to imply that would imply ignorance, only because are you seriously going to tell me that the two Warbats, Nozuki, were the only ones that could be somewhat of a representative challenge for Kong while down there? And you can only imagine the radiation levels that the Hollow Earth actually has in making these monsters and making these creatures 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times their actual size, in having them either be as big as Kong or if not bigger while they're down there. So I feel as though if you want to build towards another Godzilla movie, I guess to extend the MonsterVerse would be to have another Kong movie be featured in the Hollow Earth, being the fact that now we know that they're studying him down there and they're actually kind of conducting research to see how Kong operates. So that could be his domain, but I don't think by having him down there and being the king of the Hollow Earth would necessarily make sense if there's not an opposition for Kong to fight. Meanwhile, on the surface, up above, we can still have Godzilla do his own thing, except this time, Godzilla can actually travel about in discovering new monsters that he's never seen before, or maybe similar to Kong in Godzilla King of the Monsters, how Kong never actually responded to King Ghidorah's cry, or even never cared to. At this point, we can establish the overall premise that there could be other alpha kaiju out there that simply never responded to King Ghidorah's cry or never responded to Godzilla's cry, so they're doing their own thing, in thus having to challenge Godzilla directly for the status of being the supreme alpha titan of the Earth's surface versus down below where Kong is doing his own thing. So there is no question that yes, there are additional monsters in the Hollow Earth, so I think before we dive into possibly Godzilla Destroy All Monsters, or Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, Godzilla vs. Biollante, Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, Godzilla vs. whoever, I think that they need to kind of touch bases and explore more with Kong, being the fact that right now, theoretically, we have 3 Godzilla movies versus 1 Kong movie. So to get to that point, we can actually do a Kong Hollow Earth movie before getting into another Godzilla film, because at least then everyone would know what Kong has been up to. We can see Kong fight multiple kaiju down there, and maybe because of this, Godzilla can sense that there's something going on within the Hollow Earth, that there's something going on beneath him, but at the same time, there is also another disturbance. Perhaps maybe even diving into the concept of space aliens, because of course Ghidorah does, originate from space, so why not include Space Godzilla or something to do with space, something where there is somewhat of a disturbance or interference from space that causes Godzilla to kind of have more of an awareness as to what the heck is going on, only because it doesn't come from the Earth. So there is that cause for concern for this upcoming movie, if there even is one, only because Godzilla vs. Kong establishes that the other kaiju have been destroyed, and in Godzilla domain, that is further substantiated by seeing all of the monsters fight and essentially die by the end. So even then, the monsters that we saw in Godzilla vs. Kong could ultimately make a comeback if Legendary wants to include them as being monsters that were kind of hiding away or doing their own thing, and if they don't, then we can have new monsters be introduced that we've never seen before. Maybe they were also hiding away, or just like Destoroyah, caused somewhat of a mutation and a crustacean had evolved, or an animal had evolved into being or becoming another alpha titan. So the possibilities, I believe, for this universe are seemingly endless, and I think that by the end, depending on how you want to end the quote-unquote MonsterVerse, you can either have Godzilla Destroy All Monsters or Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, But in the end, I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below on what you guys believe they need to do in order to progress this in making another movie. Do you guys think that perhaps maybe it would make sense to do a Kong Hollow Earth movie, or perhaps maybe just jump directly into another Godzilla movie? So I want to go ahead and get your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for your time. If you guys are new, hit that subscribe button. Give this video a big fat thumbs up if you guys enjoyed it. I don't think personally that this is going to be the end, only because Legendary would be leaving so much money on the table that if they were to be walking away, especially now, I think that it would be a huge lost opportunity, only because a lot of people seem to really enjoy and like Godzilla vs. Kong. And although there were a little bit of plot contrived kind of like points in the movie where it didn't really get fleshed out, or certain things just didn't make any sense, nonetheless, the movie itself was a huge improvement by comparison to what we've seen before. So you can ultimately expand on that and tell more of a story, a fleshed out story, but only with the right circumstances. You want to include monsters and kaijus and narratives that make sense. So thank you all so much for watching, guys. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody, and take care. Peace.